Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a concept that is literally going to change how we view the future of technology. We hear about artificial intelligence constantly, right? New models, new startups, wild new breakthroughs. But today, we're zooming out. We're going to explore the hidden forces that actually drive long-term technological dominance. We're popping the hood to look at the engines and the fuel that make the entire AI revolution possible.
So, what actually dictates which countries are going to win the AI revolution? It's a massive question. I mean, if you just skim the daily headlines, you'd probably think the future is being decided entirely behind closed doors in a few Silicon Valley boardrooms. But the source material we are unpacking today reveals that the real answer goes way, way beyond the private sector. The true victors of this technological era are actually being determined by foundational investments made long before a product ever hits the market. Okay, let's dive right into this. First up, skill infrastructure, the foundation. To really wrap our heads around this foundation, we have to start with the human element. Think of this as the actual engine of innovation. You can have all the money in the world, but without the right people, you're not innovating anywhere. Academics use a specific term for this, GPT skill infrastructure. Now, just to clarify, in this context, GPT does not mean generative pre-trained transformer like ChatGPT. It actually stands for general purpose technology. We're talking about massive, world-changing innovations like electricity, the internet, or the computer itself. A country's success relies heavily on its ability to broaden the engineering skills linked to that specific technology. In our digital age, that means countries need a massive, incredibly robust pool of specific software engineering talent to truly capitalize on these technological revolutions. And you know, the historical data backing this up is incredibly clear. If we look at the spread of computerization between 1995 and 2020, the findings are pretty stark. The countries that saw rapid, high adoption of computing tech, they weren't just lucky. They had a really broad base of software engineering institutions. They had a wide array of universities and training centers just churning out highly qualified engineers. On the flip side, countries with a narrow base of training institutions experienced super sluggish, low adoption. So the crucial point here is this. Building that human engine is step one. But an engine is totally useless without fuel. Which brings us to our next major point, Section 2. The case for public investment. Because let's be real, an engine needs fuel. And in today's world, that fuel is high-performance computing. Getting this built requires us to really rethink who is actually footing the bill. We so often assume the private sector handles all tech innovation, right? But when we contrast the private and public sectors, a totally different picture emerges. The private sector is incredibly efficient, for sure, but it inherently focuses on short-term returns and projects that are commercially viable right now. The public sector, on the other hand, has the unique capacity to fund long-term, fundamental AI research and the kind of foundational infrastructure that might not pay off for a decade. And here is exactly why that distinction matters so much. High-performing computing, or HPC, and foundational AI research often completely lack immediate financial returns. They are staggeringly expensive to build and run upfront. Because these massive leaps forward aren't instantly profitable, private investors usually just can't justify the initial capital. Therefore, strategic, large-scale public investment isn't just a nice-to-have, it is absolutely crucial. It's really the only realistic way to bridge the gap and build the infrastructure of the future. So, let's look at a real-world example. Section 3. Europe's supercomputing powerhouse. To see exactly what this kind of state-sponsored fuel looks like in action, we just need to look at the European Union. They realized pretty early on that no single country could easily afford the sheer scale of computing power needed to compete globally. So what did they do? In 2018, they launched the Euro HPC joint undertaking. The goal was huge: pool resources across member states to establish a genuinely world-class supercomputing infrastructure. But they didn't just want raw power. They actively prioritized ethical AI development and cross-border collaboration to overcome what has historically been a pretty fragmented European tech landscape. They effectively combined their resources to build a continental grid of supercomputers. All right, let's get specific. Section 4. Inside the Leonardo supercomputer. Now, what's really interesting about this is zooming in from that macro-level European policy down to a highly tangible result. Let's step inside the Bologna Technopole in Italy and look at a machine known as Leonardo. The sheer awe-inspiring physical scale of what public investment can build is incredible. Leonardo has been operational since late 2022, and it boasts pre-exascale performance capabilities. Just look at the hardware. Its booster module alone contains 3,456 nodes, and every single one of those nodes is packed with 4 NVIDIA Ampere GPUs. This gives it a peak performance of around 309 petaflops. To put that into perspective for a second, a single petaflop is 1 quadrillion calculations per second. This is an absolutely unfathomable amount of computational power, backed up by over 140 petabytes of data storage. To understand how a beast like this actually functions, we have to look at its architecture. You've got the booster module on the left doing the absolute heavy lifting, and the general purpose module on the right. But the real magic, it's right there in the middle. These low latency interconnects are pushing data at 200 gigabits per second. That ensures all this massive data flows instantly between the processors and the storage without bottlenecking. It's a literal masterpiece of modern engineering.
So, what does all that raw power actually mean for AI development? Well, think about this. Standard industry training for an advanced model like ChatGPT-4 takes several months and costs hundreds of millions of dollars in compute time. The Leonardo supercomputer? It's capable of completing that exact same training run in just 120 days. No way, right? It's literally mind-blowing. This isn't just about saving time. It's about rapidly accelerating the absolute bleeding edge of global AI development. Of course, running a quadrillion calculations every single second generates enough heat to practically melt the building if you aren't careful. So how on earth did they cool it? Well, instead of classic power-hungry refrigeration, they use this incredible, sustainable water cycle. In step 1, tempered water enters the circuits at 37 degrees Celsius. In step 2, it absorbs the massive heat from the processors and exits at a toasty 47 degrees. Finally, in step 3, adiabatic batteries use the natural evaporation of water to bring the temperature right back down to 37 degrees. It's a remarkably efficient industrial process designed to make this mammoth machine as environmentally friendly as possible. Which brings us to section 5, the future of innovation. Now, we've talked about the hardware, we talked about the cooling, but it is so easy to get lost in a sea of petaflops and gigabits. We really have to step back and ask, what can a pre-exascale machine actually do to change the world around us? Like, what does this state-funded fuel actually produce for humanity? And this brilliantly illustrates just how massive the impact is. The tangible outputs are incredible. For starters, Leonardo is contributing to Destination Earth, which is this highly ambitious EU project trying to create a complete, real-time digital twin of our entire planet by 2030 to model physical phenomena. It's also being used right now to train major open-source AI models like Mistral, as well as massive language models like Minerva. But beyond just AI, this computing power is unlocking huge breakthroughs in genomic analysis to personalize medical treatments, and it's running advanced climate models to predict meteorological emergencies before they strike. This is technology actively saving lives and protecting the environment. The success of this whole strategy was powerfully summarized back in 2023 by Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission. She put it like this: Europe is a leader in supercomputing, thanks to the investments we made in recent years. The access to Europe's supercomputing infrastructure will help startups lead the development and scale up of artificial intelligence in a responsible manner. It really just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly encapsulates the vision. Build the public infrastructure so that innovators can responsibly scale the future. So, bringing all of this together, what's the big takeaway from today's explainer? Well, the core thesis we've uncovered from the data and these case studies is this: true long-term technological dominance is basically a two-part equation. You absolutely 100% need that human engine, a really broad, deep pool of highly trained software engineers. But that engine is going nowhere without the fuel, the massive, visionary, publicly funded supercomputing infrastructure that private markets simply won't build on their own. Both of these elements are entirely non-negotiable. Which leaves us with one final critical thought to chew on today. When you look at the trajectory of your own country, or even the global economy as a whole, are we investing enough in our foundational engines of human skill and that high-performance fuel of public infrastructure to actually secure our future? It's a question that's going to define the next century of human progress. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this complex, fascinating topic on today's Explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.